Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. Hours after India launched Operation Sindoor, a precision strike targeting terrorist infrastructure deep inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir in the wee hours of Wednesday, Indians and the world waited for details about the operation. Multiple questions loomed. What were the targets? How was the operation executed? What message was India sending? Then, in a move that was both strategic and symbolic, two women officers of the Indian Armed Forces stepped forward to answer those questions. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh and Colonel Sofiya Qureshi addressed the nation and the international media not with rhetoric but with facts. Location struck, methods deployed, and India's clear stance against terrorism. This marked the first time in Indian history that two women officers led a press briefing on a major military operation. And while their appearance was deliberate and symbolic, it was also profoundly real. A declaration that India's fight against terror is led by professionals, not defined by gender but by competence. Their composed, firm and precise statements have been widely recognized, not just as a tactical update but as a bold message. India's armed forces are strong and inclusive. To discuss the deeper impact of this moment, both as a milestone in gender parity and a powerful reflection of India's modern military ethos, I'm honored to welcome two women who proudly worn the uniform. With me in the studio is Captain Shweta Mishra, retired. Captain, welcome to Sansad TV. Thank you for your time. Joining us virtually is Captain Amrit Kaur, retired. Army Services Corps, Indian Army. Captain Kaur, delighted to have you with us on this broadcast as well.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. So, Captain Mishra, allow me to begin the program today with you. And the first and the most obvious question, you've donned the uniform before, but today it was a sight to behold. Two women officers, very bold in their attitude, coming forward and answering questions that the entire global media waited with bated breath. The question is, how do you see that symbolism? What is the powerful message that the Indian Armed Forces sought to give to the world?
See, to begin with, it's a great day. When we woke up in the morning, the news was trickling in about Operation Sindoor. The very word, the choice of word Sindoor was great and dedicated to women. And then we were hearing that there will be a press briefing by Defense Forces at around 10:30, and also people were waiting with bated breath what actually happened in Operation Sindoor. And then the announcement that there will be two lady officers who will be briefing the media. It was magnificent. When they said Colonel Sofiya Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh will be briefing, a lot was said even before things were said effectively, because two women will be briefing, and particularly when for last 14 days we had been listening to the cries of women, the widows of those tourists who had died, and we had been seeing very depressing images, I would say, when we were seeing tourists have died and women are crying. And then Modi government chooses two lady officers to stand there in uniform and speak for the nation. There was a role model there given to all those ladies who were crying. See, this is the position you can take. This is how you can lead the nation, and this is how you can take a stand and give a leadership face to the nation just by being a woman. So this is a great messaging by the Modi government that lady officers were chosen to give the briefing. So I'm absolutely delighted. I have served way back during Kargil War and Operation Parakram, and we've come a long way to see them standing there and briefing the nation. So absolutely delighted to see this development.
Absolutely. As much as we are delighted that the Indian Army actually gave a befitting reply to the terrorists and the backers of terrorism in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, I think it added to that glory perhaps when two women officers stepped forward and made those announcements about Operation Sindoor. Captain Kaur, let me also get in your perspective, because Operation Sindoor isn't just a military message. It is emotional, it is symbolic. As as an officer of the Indian Army, as a woman, what does this symbolism mean to you, both in terms of what the operation was named as, and secondly, the fact that two women officers perhaps addressed this all-important press briefing that the not just the Indian media, but the international media was also waiting for.
Hi, Tina. Thank you for having me on your show. And let me begin by saying that tea has never tasted sweeter. This morning, my tea was, I think, sweeter than ever. And to have a look at those images of Operation Sindoor, which were conducted early in the morning, I think it was a sight to behold. And the choice of the name Sindoor is extremely, I would say, deeply symbolic because, see, in Indian culture, Sindoor, which we also call vermilion, is traditionally worn by married women, which shows their marital status and it shows the sanctity of the marriage. And by naming the operation as Sindoor, I believe the Indian government, so to say Modi government, they appear to have paid their homage to the victims of the attack and also to the women who lost their loved ones. So definitely, I think it was a great choice, and I'm told, and I heard on TV that it was personally selected by our Prime Minister, Operation Sindoor. So it goes to show the kind of personal, attachment that he has with that name and the kind of what feeling he was having inside to take this kind of a revenge, Although it is, I wouldn't call it the last revenge. I think it is the beginning of it, but it's a great start. And when we speak about the two women sitting out there giving the briefing, my God, what a sight it was. It was a sight to, again, it was a sight to behold. It was a sight which really, I think we were looking at forward to that for a very long time. And this move also underscores a very broad narrative, that the empowerment and the central role of women in the national defense and their resilience, and by having the officers lead the press conference, the press briefing, I think the government has sent a very, very clear message about the strength, about their capabilities, and the leadership roles that they are, taking on head on, because they are not just the part of the war rooms these days. They are making decisions and they are out there addressing the world of what this. So it is, again, I think that gender equality, or should I say neutrality, that a strategic war briefing is not just a male thing. It can be given by a women officer as well. So yes, a very proud moment for me as well.
Captain Kaur, did you imagine while you were in service that you would see women officers come forward and especially at the front line of strategic communication like this? And I mean, if you compare your service days to now, how do you see the armed forces having evolved in terms of making it more inclusive?
I think I always had my hopes high about today's day. I never doubted that we are going to reach here, because the women were here to stay from the year 1992, ever since they got inducted in the Indian Army, to the day today when they're sitting as the commanding officers and operating, the war rooms and taking strategic decisions sitting out there. So I never doubted this, but definitely when you say the word evolve, I think it is not just the lady officers who have evolved. I think the entire system, the government, the Indian Army per se, overall, the evolving factor, I think, is touched upon all of these, because it's like, how a parent and child's relationship. So when the child grows, even a parent is growing along. So I think our system has evolved, and the inclusiveness of women officers alongside their, the equal gender of men. I think the kind of roles that they are being given, and they are already creating history in various fields. You must have definitely heard about many already. So I feel that inclusivity has definitely been also evolving alongside.
Captain Mishra, what do you think? Because seeing women today representing the armed forces, and especially at such a critical national moment, what does this say about where we are in terms of gender parity, especially in the armed forces?
See, we've come a long way. When we had joined forces, we were from the initial most batches when we were only given short service commission. So our fight was to get a permanent commission, to get leadership roles, which we got from 2014 onwards. Several policies repetitively were made wherein women were empowered in defense forces, and women were given a permanent commission in defense forces, and subsequently leadership positions as commanding officers, as officer commandings of different units. So now we are seeing not just in the media briefing, but they are also in the operational fields also, you will see that there is a ordnance depot being commanded by a lady officer, there is a signal unit being commanded by a lady officer, and they are taking all the operational decisions to support such operations. So it is a brilliant development that has happened, and absolute delight to see the development, no doubt about it. There was a struggle indeed to get the gender parity. There was a struggle indeed to convince the world that women can do as much as men can do. There was always, you know, a comparison with whether women are physically as strong as men or not. So that debate continued, and that still continues. So somewhere decisions have to be made that, look, it is the intelligence which counts, it is the decision making capability that counts, it is the leadership skills that count. That is why we are seeing the two ladies standing there and addressing the world about what brilliant thing that India did in the name of Operation Sindoor.
Do you think their presence at that important press briefing would have had an impact on the global media as well, in terms of the messaging, in terms of the symbolism that perhaps the Indian leadership thought about?
Indeed, it was a two-pronged attack. For last 14 days, the Modi government was being accused that we are just talking, nothing is being done. Terrorists came and they killed the tourists, and nothing is being done. We are just talking about minor measures being taken. So one, Operation Sindoor created history by a concrete measure that was taken by government, and second, projecting Nari Shakti as the lead in the leadership position, in the describing position to the world. So it is a two-pronged strategy which was addressed by the Modi government, and absolute success has been seen, because everyone is delighted to see the two women there, you know, describing what the turn of events had been.
It's been wonderful to see Captain Kaur, the government, and those who've been in that position to make decisions and perhaps, take perhaps informed decisions about this operation, in particular Operation Sindoor. The question here is, we are happy they walked the talk, but what kind of impact do you think moments like these? We are delighted, we are happy, perhaps also because we have our own biases, we are all women, and we have a struggle behind us. We've reached a position facing those stereotypes that the society had about us. But when moments like these appear and they inspire, how do you see it having an impact on young girls across different parts of the country, those who may be dreaming of joining the armed forces in the times to come?
See, to start with, I think today, as we speak, the kind of government that we have, which is leading the nation, I think none of us Indians ever doubted that, that justice would be served, that kind of a thought. So definitely about the government, there was never a doubt. But when we speak about the women per se, so see, in the face of the profound loss that these women had undergone very recently, they transformed their grief into strength, and they embodied the resilience and serving as an inspiration for the nation. So today I was all day the TV has been on, and we are hearing all the women who sadly have lost their loved ones in the Pahalgam attack, a very, very terrifying attack that was. But so from somewhere they are garnering their strength, and they are still standing with the government. They are still giving that support to the government. So I think this transformation from grief to strength, I think that is what makes a woman a woman. A woman is one of the most strongest entities that God has probably given birth to. So they are not just physically very strong to give a birth to child and take that kind of a pain, but I think a woman alongside is mentally also very, very strong. And we have definitely seen over the years in the Indian Defence Forces also, as women have joined the services, whether you speak of Army, Navy or Air Force. The training is not easy, Tina, the kind of training that they have to undergo. It not just calls for the physical endurance, it calls for a mental endurance of a level I don't think anybody can even imagine unless and until they are put to test, So going through that kind of a test, becoming an officer, wearing and donning the uniform, and then today standing out there in front of the world and speaking the strategic language, talking about where the attack took place, how the, on those kind of technical terms, I think it really made me very proud as a woman officer who has served the Indian Army. And this moment particularly also, I think it serves as a reminder for our nation that strength lies in the unity and the collective resolve of the people, regardless of the gender, should be standing by each other and just trusting our government, the resolve of our government. And I don't see that why women would not want to join the services going forward as well. I honestly hear a lot from many girls I meet on a daily basis who ask me, they inquire, what should I do to join the Indian Army? How do I, prepare for it? So that really makes me very happy and proud that things have changed over the years, definitely.
You're right. It's something to be extremely proud of, Captain Mishra, that the change that we were talking about all this while has begun to happen. We are seeing that change happen right in front of our eyes. But if I could take you back to your days of service, were there moments when you felt that women needed more visibility in leadership roles, and perhaps then that was not the norm? Although that has changed years later, but perhaps any kind of incident or memory that you could recall?
I have a lot of memories to share, but then before that I would say that a lot of things that defense forces do remain, they are there on the mountains, they are there in deserts, they are there in remote areas which doesn't get seen. It is what the general public sees is the ceremonial thing which is there on the on the Kartavya Path, which is there when they are marching in best of their turnouts and with the best of their drills, they are there. So what world sees is the ceremonial thing. The tougher element, the struggle, the fight which they actually do is on the borders, in the training areas, in the extreme desert areas. So yes, during my tenure, I have served during Kargil war, I have served during Operation Parakram. And Operation Parakram, if you will recall, happened when the attack on Parliament happened in the year 2001, when 5 terrorists had attacked the Parliament, and then at that point in time Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had said, we will take the revenge and we will launch an attack on Pakistan. And that is the time decision of Operation Parakram started, and I was a young captain then, sitting somewhere in Bhopal enjoying my leave, and then the message comes that all the leaves are cancelled, join back immediately. So I joined back in Jhansi, and from Jhansi I took a train full of a goods train full of air defense equipment, Shilka equipment, from Jhansi all the way to the border. And that event took 15 days. The goods train traveling from Jhansi to the border. Several reasons were there. It's a goods train. The decisions of exact deployments were not there. So we kept waiting for exactly which location for the train to reach. So many more reasons were there. So there was a lot of time. What I'm coming to is that time the attack did not happen. And why it did not happen? Because a lot of time was taken in decision making and launching an attack. So what we lost was the surprise element, the speed element, which is the the biggest characteristic factor of any military or any defense operation, which was achieved now. Okay, which was achieved now. And not just that, I mean, I'm seeing from not as a women's perspective, I'm trying to, you are asking from a women's perspective, but I have always been an officer there, not seeing myself as a woman. So, retrospectively, I relate that I was the only women in the train of almost a kilometer long train carrying tanks, Shilka equipment, being in the train with the men for 15 days and then reaching there and all that. So I'm relating that, and what I'm relating is the time that had stressed in during Operation Parakram in taking decisions and launching the attack. That element was lost. The surprise element was lost. The speed element was lost during Operation Parakram, because of which we could not give back Pakistan appropriately. And this time that part was addressed. And so I'm happy as an officer. I don't know how to relate it as a lady officer. So that is one thing I would
proud of, because after the Pahalgam terror attack happened, Captain Kaur, we were all very, very disturbed, and we wanted the Indian leadership, the Indian armed forces, to avenge the brutal death of 26 people, and we wanted to send a message across to the terrorists and those who are backing these terrorists that no matter what, you cannot divide India on lines of gender, on lines of religion, on lines of other divisional aspects perhaps that the terrorists are looking for. Through Operation Sindoor, have we been able to perhaps provide a closure? Of course, the pain that they have endured is something that we cannot cover up for in any way, but in terms of perhaps putting a closure, putting a end to that chapter where they were hoping that their deaths would be avenged. So that particular, perhaps, do you think that that has happened through Operation Sindoor?
Tina, like in the beginning, like I said, this morning the tea did not, it didn't never tasted as sweeter. I remember on the day of the attack, when the videos started, pouring onto especially the WhatsApp groups without any disclaimers, especially, and for everyone to see the brutality that was, conducted by these terrorists out there, and how the women, were crying for help, and the bodies were lying, and like you mentioned, religion specific is what they had checked upon these men, and literally compromising their privacy. They murdered them. It was not just an attack, it was a murder, I would say. So this retaliation, according to me, it was not just a retaliation, it was a restoration of what? Of honor, of peace, and of faith in our protective shield. So what the government has done today, I'm not saying that this is going to be the end of it. Definitely, there's going to be a retaliation from their side as well. But I think our government and our forces are ready beyond words. And but somewhere, like again, when I say this, I heard the first and emotions of these women who had lost their husbands, their brothers, and their fathers in the attack, and how they were expressing that somewhere it has given them some kind of a closure, that maybe their loved ones out there in the heavens above, maybe they are in peace. They are probably looking down in peace. So yes, a little closure is what I believe they all must be experiencing. I really cannot be in their shoes. I can only, feel that pain, So, but definitely, I think what the government has done, and it was not just an instant attack. They took their time. It was a precision attack. It was not just an attack in a hurry. It was an attack on the specific 9 spots which they actually went about finding and collecting intel about first, and they ended up hitting the right spots. So definitely, I think it must have hit Pakistan in a very hard way, but we can expect a lot more coming in the near future, in the coming days, in the coming weeks. I think there's a lot going to happen in terms of action. So I think it's very important over here to also mention that our nation as a whole, our people must stay very, vigilant, and they shouldn't fall prey to the messages, to the videos that are being forwarded on WhatsApp, on various social media platforms. Because today only I saw that they have hit our headquarters, the brigade headquarters. They have hit some kind. This is the kind of messages they are trying to, pour across. So I think it's from my side, I would like to make an appeal to all the people out there to not be in a hurry, to just press the share button and just let the message be forwarded to the groups. Please take your time, understand what you're doing. It's a very, very important factor. So yes,
I think that's a very important message that we have to be aware. In fact, the MHA had earlier announced that a nationwide mock drill should be conducted for citizens to know about what it takes to behave and be alert in situations of emergencies. So of course, it's just the beginning, and we need to be alert in the coming days from all kinds of attacks or fake propaganda, which will be pushed through various social media platforms. But because, knowing Pakistan, Captain Mishra, this question is to you. You've been part of the Kargil war, the Operation Parakram. To what extent, or what kind of retaliation, let me put it like that, what kind of retaliation can you expect from Pakistan now? Because this time, the attacks, as India said, although they didn't target any of the military installations or civilian areas, they were only targeted at 9 terror launch pads. But the response from the Pakistani army and the leadership, of course, is that they're not going to sit quiet. They're going to do something about it. So what kind of, or how do you anticipate India to perhaps be alert, be cautious in the next few days?
See, it is very clear from Indian perspective that the attack has been on the terrorist infrastructure. The attack is not on Pakistan. Pakistan leadership itself has admitted on several TV channels that they themselves are suffering from terrorism. So they are aware that terrorist hideouts exist, terrorist training centers exist, and now India has destroyed them. So now if Pakistan initiates any action, it will be illogical, because there is no reason for Pakistan army to initiate an action. Our action, Indian action, is against the terrorist hideouts which are there in terrorist training centers which are there inside Pakistan. Yeah. There is no reason for them, because India doesn't host any terrorist centers or training centers at all. So any action that is initiated by them will be an aggression against the country, and India will obviously retaliate at a different level then it is an act of war. This is just that India has the prerogative to act against terrorists. India was attacked by terrorists, and India has just done what any sane nation would have done. If you remember, United Nations Security Council had issued their statement after the attack of 22nd April that anyone who is funding terrorism should be acted upon. Anyone who is supporting terrorism should be acted upon, and the issue should be addressed. So India has just taken an action which is logical for the safety of its nation. Now, if Pakistan initiates, it will certainly be an act of war, and there is no reason for them to. They should accept the fact that it was the terrorist centers that were attacked, and somewhere the things should die down, because like Indian foreign briefing had clearly stated that it is non-escalatory, right? It was India's right to do it. So I don't suppose any action should be there. Let's hope
it remains like that. But knowing a country like Pakistan, it's a hostile neighbor that we have to always be alert against. So as Captain Kaur and you rightly said, the next few days are going to be very, very crucial. As Indian citizens, we have to all rally behind our armed forces, the Indian leadership, trust them with their moves. But at the same time, be cautious, be alert with the kind of messages that we are forwarding on our WhatsApp to not further propagate the kind of social media war or misinformation or fake propaganda that Pakistan wants us to indulge in. So with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of Perspective. I'd like to thank Captain Kaur and Captain Mishra for their valuable time and their valuable insights. And to you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.